Mick Dizzle Gaming coming at you. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I hope you're doing well today. In today's video, we are going to take a look at 10 pieces of cut content in Red Dead Redemption 2 according to a developer. This information originally came out December 23rd, 2018, just a short few months after Red Dead Redemption 2 was released on console, but not yet released on PC. After careful consideration over the years and reviewing his responses to people's questions and concerns, because there's a lot of wild stuff he claims, I do think that some of this is true because it can be confirmed in the files. And all this information came out about a year before Red Dead Redemption 2 came out on PC and the ability to easily data mine. Not saying he couldn't have done it before, but it would have been tough. There's a whole lot to unpack here, and we're going to have a good time doing it. Best case scenario, it's true. Worst case scenario, it's fan fiction. What do you think? If you enjoy this video at any time, hit that like button. If you're new here, welcome, and subscribe to keep up to date on the best of Red Dead news, leaks, live streams, and a whole lot more. The supposed developer highlights about 90 pieces of cut content. Is this real? No one really knows, but I can confirm one of his pieces that he mentioned around cut content being mule deers and jaguars, as I found that information in the files. Either way, let's get started. I'm not going to go over every one of them, of course, because there's like 90 of them, but I will link them in the description below. The first one we'll look at is really neat. The original concept of the game was that it went from 1877 when Arthur joined Hosea and Dutch until the gang broke up in 1899. Then you had epilogues. A lot of events before 1899 were turned into dialogue or put into 1899. It would have been pretty cool playing as young Arthur, that's for sure. The next one would have been friggin' amazing, having two epilogues based if you got the Coyote or the Buck. The Buck having you play as John Marston as he builds Beecher's Hope, and the Coyote having you play as Dutch as he's formed his gang of Native Americans. The idea was that a low honor player could go around robbing and killing people, well, it wouldn't be out of character, and it would encourage more playthroughs. That would be friggin' cool. This one's also interesting because the actor that played Javier confirmed that there was actually 15 different endings to Red Dead Redemption 2, and that was cut down to 4. Which is interesting information for him to comment on because in the current epilogues, he's not involved in it. As well, Roger Clark has confirmed they have filmed so much stuff that is not in the game. Reason being is Rockstar will film so much stuff but only end up using what they consider to be the best. And it's a great deal cheaper than movie filming, so they don't mind absorbing that cost. The next one is really interesting because it's very similar to a feature that we got in Red Dead Online almost a year after this post was made. You could produce moonshine at your camp. Additionally, it's mentioned that you could steal wagons full of grain or maize or just buy the stuff legally. That transfers to the whole mash buying system in Red Dead Online. The next one is really neat, and it's around horse breeding and how much effort was put into the horse bits. This would be a feature we would appreciate in Red Dead Online so much, especially if we get some sort of horse fencing role or horse-like role. We'll have to see what happens. It would have been pretty damn cool to breed different types of horses, that's for sure. The next one probably caused the most discussion from people. Is Arthur pursuing some sort of tragic romance with Charles? One thing I really liked about the main story of Red Dead Redemption 2 is that romance was not a huge part of it. You can argue that the epilogue was a different story. However, in a game full of choices and options, one should have the option to choose who they romanced. And if we look at more recent titles like Assassin's Creed Valhalla as well as Cyberpunk, you have all sorts of sexuality options within those. I mean, I think it's fair to say that gay and bi people did exist in that era. And just like the missions with Mary, I would expect it would have been some sort of optional thing. And if I'm shipping Arthur with another dude, it is definitely Charles. Oh, and apparently there was bicycles in the game. It would be pretty wild to ride away from the law on a bicycle, that's for sure. The next one's interesting, and it's pretty verifiable, because within the files there's the ability to buy a ticket to Guarma for like a couple $100. Also, the interior of the ferry terminal in Saint Denis is partially finished, which isn't the same for most buildings. We also have a good idea that Guarma was supposed to be much more free roam and much less on the rails as it was. The next one's pretty neat, and it's around a secret movie that you could unlock after completing 100% of the story mode that shows what Jack did in between John and Abigail's death. That would have been really cool to see. The next one is around guns. With the game originally starting in 1877, according to this dude, you would get period unique weapons. And as time went on, you'd be able to replace your older weapons with new period relevant ones. I am sure those guns from 1877 would have been pretty slow. The next one is around story advancement. Instead of having that mission-to-mission system that GTA and Red Dead Redemption 1 used, originally you would have to meet certain objectives through optional missions and free roam activities, usually earning enough money through certain crimes before the story would advance. It would have added a whole new dimension to gameplay, that is for sure. I've left the link to the Reddit thread in here so you can review all 90 plus of these yourself to see what you think. Worst case scenario, it's a really interesting read. Well, that's about all the time we have for today's video. Make sure to subscribe if you aren't already with those bell notifications on to be notified of my Red Dead 2 videos as well as my Red Dead Online videos and live streams. On that note, we'll end it here and we'll see you in the next video or live stream.